Many of our clients who are foreigners looking to move to Serbia and to obtain residency via property purchase have to understand that purchasing a property here as a foreigner is much different than many other countries. We have clients from all over the world. We have clients from Canada, United States, Australia, Germany, Sweden, Holland, and even some from Mexico. And every single one of those clients tell us that the process here in Serbia is much different and a lot more bureaucratic than what is involved in the country that they come from. And today, what I want to talk to you about is a first-hand experience, or should I say a case study, of what some of our clients have experienced and what you should look at when you are looking to move to Serbia and purchase property as a foreigner. Now, one of the things that we love helping our clients with is establishing their life here in Serbia, regardless if it's setting up a business, getting a business plan together, or even the most straightforward part is purchasing a property. However, even some of the simple items as purchasing a property is not as straightforward here in Serbia as it may be for someone that is coming from Canada, someone who is coming from Mexico, someone coming from other countries. Serbia has their own procedures, has their own laws, has their own processes that you as a foreigner need to, one, understand that it's different, and two, respect the way of doing business here in Serbia. And we are here to facilitate all aspects of purchasing a property here when it comes to foreigners purchasing property. Now, I've mentioned in previous videos that home ownership does not have a certain threshold of purchase. You can purchase a property that is $25,000, and we've had clients that have purchased property that are €500,000. And regardless of what those properties are, apartments or houses, they have certain processes that you have to go through in order to purchase the property or to sell the property. I'm going to get into that as well. Now, of course, as a foreigner, you are going to be limited to simply having residential property. You cannot purchase agricultural property, which is can be done if you establish a corporation here in Serbia, and we've had individuals who have done that. They have invested money into setting up the corporation and then purchasing agricultural property here, apple orchards, blueberry farm, hazelnut farms, vineyards, so on and so forth, or even residential property that is half residential, but the other plot is agricultural. Or sometimes we have situations here in Serbia where the plot of land that you're looking to purchase is classified as residential, but because it is surrounded by agricultural property, you are still not going to be able to purchase that as a foreigner because it is technically a gray zone, and a lot of notaries won't notarize your contract to purchase that property because of those reasons. And so one of the things that we need to let you know, or that I'd like to tell you about in this video, is that you can come here in Serbia and purchase real estate, especially if you are someone coming from a country who has reciprocity with Serbia. So that means that Serbian citizens are able to purchase property in that country, and that country's citizens are able to purchase property in Serbia. And Serbia has a lot of reciprocity agreements with many countries around the world. For instance, people from India, from Pakistan, they are not able to purchase property here in Serbia because there is no reciprocity law, or agreement, should I say. But someone coming from the United States, from Canada, from Sweden, from Holland, from many of the EU countries, even Australia, we have reciprocity laws with Serbia and that country that allows those citizens to come here and purchase property. Now, when you do find a property, we have to make sure that there's no liens, there are no mortgages on that the owner is clear of the title, that there are not many other owners a part of that property as well. And if there are, well, now we have to make sure that all the owners are in agreement to purchase, for you to purchase that property. The issue is that when you are purchasing the property and you are a foreigner who does not speak the language, now there are other things that come into play. When we are creating the contract of purchase on your behalf, it also has to be done in Serbian, Cyrillic, and has to be notarized at the notary. But if you are a foreigner who does not speak and understand fluent Serbian, one of the things that needs to come into play is to have a translator present at the time of notarization. And this depends on the language that you are speaking. So many of our clients are English speaking, but we've had clients who are, for instance, from Israel and they speak Hebrew. There are some clients that we've had that come in from Mexico and they speak Spanish only and not English or Serbian. And so we need to find a designated translator for that process to come to the notary in order to have that agreement notarized. And the reason being is that when you are purchasing a property, everything is done in Serbian here. And so in order for you to understand what the contract of purchase says, we need to have that translator present to read that contract to you in your native tongue, be it English, Hebrew, Spanish, whatever it might be. And not only is the requirement to have the translator there, but you are also required to have witnesses at the signing of these documents. Now, we've had situations where the contracts come into play. There is a pre-contract and a final contract, or what we call is a main contract. So the pre-contract, you still need the translator, you still need the witnesses. The main contract, again, you need the translator there and you need witnesses. I've traveled to many towns and cities around Serbia to be witnesses for clients. This could be in Bačka Palanka, which is about an hour west of Novi Sad, and we've even traveled down to Smederevska Palanka. We've traveled down to Niš. We've traveled all across Serbia to be witnesses and also facilitate these translators. Now, when it comes to finding a translator here in Serbia, typically it is very easy to find someone who is an English translator. That is the most common translator that you can find. However, we also have to ensure that the translator's schedule and the notary schedule and the seller and the buyer and the witness schedules all align on a certain date that is available and agreeable to everyone so that we all meet at that notary's office in order to facilitate this purchase agreement or even sales agreement. And so that is something that we do for our clients, and that is something that is very understandable when it comes to Serbia, because Serbia does not want you to sign an agreement or be part of an agreement that you don't understand. And so a lot of our clients are not understanding why that is, but it needs to be done. And this also goes for, opening up bank accounts or any other legal processes here in Serbia. Typically, they require a translator in order for you to proceed with that process. The issue also is that say your husband or your wife is a Serbian citizen. and you two are legally married, and you come into Serbia with your spouse who is a Serbian citizen, and you obtain temporary residency based on the marriage. Now, if you as a Serbian citizen end up purchasing a property and that marriage is registered, which of course is going to be registered here in order to obtain temporary residency on the basis of marriage, and your spouse who is a Serbian citizen purchases a property without you in the agreement because it's easier and you don't want to find certain translators and deal with the whole witnesses as well. That is fine and that is something doable. However, one thing that you have to understand is if you are that spouse who is a Serbian citizen is purchasing a property while you are married here in Serbia, that property automatically will be put into your spouse's name. Right? He or she does not need to be in that agreement, that purchase agreement, but when it's filed in the registry, that spouse will be automatically put in as owner on that property, unless there is a signed agreement by that spouse saying that they don't want anything to do with that property, which again will mean that you need translators and witnesses. We recently had a issue, or shouldn't say an issue, but a situation where one of our clients who's come into Serbia, we've helped them establish citizenship by descent. We were able to register their marriage to their spouse who came from Mexico, and they were able to get temporary residency based on that marriage. Now, they've purchased some property on their own, together, should I say. The spouse then also decided, hey, you know what? I think it's going to be a good idea if I purchase the next property on my own so I don't have to deal with the translators and the witnesses. And they ended up purchasing a property south of Belgrade, which was a couple hours away. And everything went fine on the purchase side. And the idea of purchasing this property was to use it as rental income. However, the clients ended up not doing their due diligence of, understanding what rent can be charged at in that area of Serbia, and found out that they couldn't get more than 200 euros per month on rent on that property. And so after keeping that property for about 3 months, they said, hey, listen, it's not worth keeping that property and only earning 200 euros. We're going to sell that property and then end up going to take that money and purchasing something back in Mexico where we can charge 13, 14, 1500 US dollars per month in rent. The issue is, even though that the Serbian citizen purchased the property, when they went to go sell that property, they found out that the wife was included as owner on that property. And so the notary that was going to facilitate the sale of that property said, hey, listen, your wife speaks Spanish only, and we need a Spanish translator in order to close this, and you need also 2 witnesses in order to be able to close on that property. And so the client reached out to us again and said, hey, listen, we have this situation. We want to sell this property, but the notary is requiring us to find a Spanish translator. And of course, we work with one Spanish translator here in Novi Sad, and we reached out to some of them that are in Belgrade as well. However, in Belgrade, the cost of the Spanish translator to travel down to south of Belgrade to facilitate this process, we're charging almost 400 euros to go there for 1 hour's worth of work. The other translator that we found was looking to charge 250 euros to go down there, and then an hour of travel each way at a rate of 75 euros. And so that was pretty, a pretty high price for what we thought it was. And so we reached out to our translator here in Novi Sad, who facilitated some of the other purchases for the same client, and said, hey, listen, what is the cost to go down to this town and do this translation? And they ended up saying, hey, we're going to charge 10,000 dinars, but we also want a drive down there, and I'm not driving down there. And so 10,000 dinars, that's typically just under 100 euros to do this process. And so that process, we ended up hiring this translator. I, myself, and one of the girls in our office, we all sat in the car and went down there and completed the transaction and ended up coming back. So the purpose of this video is to say that when you are purchasing property here in Serbia, that you are aware of what you are purchasing. Do your due diligence. If you're looking to use this as a rental property, that's fine. But if you're looking to eventually sell that property, or you are not a native speaker of the Serbian language, that you are also going to have other costs associated. And all these costs are going to be going to the individual who needs the translator. So you can see that you're going to have one notary cost, you're going to have the contract that you have to pay for, you're going to also have the translation, the witnesses as well, in order to complete this process altogether. And if that's not something that you're looking to do and you want to do it as easy as possible, I would highly recommend that you're purchasing something in the main cities. And because finding translators is easier to do in Belgrade, Novi Sad, than it is in a smaller village down south of Belgrade. Because, especially if you're getting into some of these other languages that are not readily available, such as Hebrew, right? There's not many Hebrew translators in Serbia. And so if you're looking to get a Hebrew translator, these individuals are not stupid. They know that they are one of the few, and they are going to charge an exorbitant amount of money in order to facilitate that purchase or that sale of the property. And that's what we are here to do at Relocation Serbia, is to ensure that your processes go as smooth as possible, that you do not have to search for all these individuals, these translators, the notaries, the witnesses, so on and so forth, so that if you are geared to purchase that property, you can do so in a confident manner and knowing that this will be done altogether in a legal and proper process, so that there are no hiccups in your case. But what you also have to understand is that all this has to be organized, that it suits all the individuals. So it's almost like going to the notary office with a little mini military, because you're going to be going to the notary office with the buyer. That could be a couple. You could be, and then the seller, which could be a couple. Then you also have the translator. Then you have two witnesses. So you're essentially going there with 7 individuals to close on a property deal. And it's a little bit weird, but at the same time, that's the reason Serbia does it, is they want to make sure you as a foreigner understand that the contract that you are going to be signing is that you understand it, and so that you don't say down the road, I didn't understand that what I was signing, and then it creates another legal process. And so if you are interested in purchasing property here in Serbia and not sure where to turn to, make sure you reach out to us at Relocation Serbia. We'd be happy to help.